Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Fabian, on the moderation panel. We are still waiting for Robert Thaler to join us here on the moderation panel. Maybe I'll start with some introductory notes. My name is Andreas Friedwagner. I'm working for Veracon, based in Vienna. I'm a consultant mainly dealing with the sustainable transport, strong focus on cycling. I'm the moderator of this session together with my colleague Willy Raimond, who will hopefully join us in a second too. This side event is hosted by the Austrian Federal Ministry of Climate Action, Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology, together with the French Ministry for an Ecological Transition and the European Cyclists Federation. So I'm very happy to have these institutions on board when discussing the benefits of national cycling plans, national cycling strategies. Here is really, thank you very much for joining me here, really. We're still waiting for Robert to join us. I'm just about to give a short introduction. If you have a look at the chat, you get some more technical details. We also have some technical support coming from Brainbows, the agency who is organizing the side events for the Austrian Federal Ministry of, let's take the short version, climate action. Okay, well, what we have prepared is a bit of a poll. So as we here on the moderation panel don't have the opportunity to see who is joining us, we prepared a poll asking you what's your professional background, which institution are you representing. So we will be curious to get a bit of feedback from your side. So please choose whether option you belong to give us a bit of a picture whom we have here as listeners. Okay, we also have the opportunity to provide translation into German, French, or Russian. For using the translation, you have to go to the very right-hand side. You have the chat, the polls, people, question and answers, and the very right option is translations. Please be aware, in order to enjoy the translation, you have to mute the speaker, because only then you can have the translators providing your language choice. Okay, this would actually be the point where I would hand over the floor to Robert Thaler. As he is still not here, I would rather suggest to switch program a bit and start with Fabian's input. Fabian, you've prepared a presentation about status of national cycling strategies and plans all over Europe. You've done this work for a couple of years now. You've tried to update it to the current status. So please share the presentation with us and give us an introduction where we are standing at the very moment.
Good morning, Andreas. Thank you for giving me the floor. I'll try to share my presentation. Okay, can you see it on the screen?
Excellent.
Yes. Wonderful. So yeah, we're happy to be with you here today. Yeah, also happy to have the adoption of the Pan-European Masterplan for cycle promotion next week. As ECF, we have been involved in the development from the very beginning. So let's really hope that it will make a contribution to what it has been designed to do, namely to initiate more national cycling strategies, but more importantly, to deliver more impactful national strategies. And also a big thank you to Austria and France for coordinating this process since 2014. Without your leadership, we would not have the Pan-European Masterplan for cycling promotion.
Fabian,
yeah,
we managed to have Robert here. And I think we still could switch to him because you just gave a great introduction to what we are talking about. And I think Robert can continue and then we're going into the details, if you agree.
I will stop sharing. Yeah.
Excellent. So Robert Thaler, Head of Active Mobility Management Department at the Austrian Ministry of Climate Action. please give us a short word of welcome.
Yes, it's a sunny day in Vienna. Hi, welcome. Best cycling weather here. Unfortunately, you all have to stay at home online and you are not able to come to Vienna. It's a real pity. Despite all that, a warm welcome from Vienna. In these days, I hope it will be the capital for cycling enthusiasts because we have a real historic milestone to adopt next week, the first Pan-European Masterplan on cycling. I must say I'm very grateful to the cooperation with a lot of countries, but also with the European Cycling Federation, because that's, I think, and also the cycling industry, because it worked out very well that all parties which are interested in promoting active mobility and also especially cycling bundle their forces and work together. That's, I think, the secret of the PEP success, that countries are working together with institutions, organizations, NGOs, and produce concrete results. This is also very important. Why it's important to promote cycling, not just on a local level. This is what I preach now since 20 years. We all are in the trap of subsidiarity because everybody says cycling is below the level from me. So federal regions say the cities, the national say the regions, the EU says member states, and so on. And now I think we have a big breakthrough. The purpose of this workshop is also to show that if you want to achieve a good cycling atmosphere and a higher modal share of cycling, then you have to embark on a process to give this also on the national level priority, and not just say it's for cities. Of course, it's for cities to implement, but you need also a national framework, a national strategy, a national plan, how to really get out of this trap of subsidiarity, and especially how to achieve to take the full potential of cycling for short trips. We all know around 50% of car trips are below 5 kilometers, so I mean perfect for cycling. So therefore, I think this side event was designed to focus on the national level, why it's important to have national strategies. I hope that a lot of countries now will embark on national processes. We have already many countries doing so. They are more successful in cycling policy than other ones because they have this strategy. But we also want to advertise and to motivate a lot of other countries to embark on a process. Therefore, we support a lot of member states also. Just to mention it, we have started a project in the Danube area on Danube cycle plans to help the Danube countries to establish such national strategies. Learning from each other is one of the very good additional things of the PEP. So I wish you all a nice webinar on the national strategies. We will have then a second one, just to make an advertisement for the second webinar, just following up this one, where we talk about the Pan-European approach. So good luck for your workshop here and for your webinar, and hope to see you cycling somewhere, sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert, for giving us the bigger picture. I will directly continue with Fabian. You already had your introduction. What's the national level doing at the very moment? So where are we standing? Fabian, please give us your presentation.
Yeah. So, trying to share it. Yeah, it's coming up now. Okay. So should be on the screen again.
If you could switch to presentation mode, it would be even more.
Like this.
Yes,
okay.
Excellent.
Cool. So, introduction has been said. With that, I jump into the topic of my presentation. So, what's the current status of national cycling policies in Europe? And we have created 6 different categories for that, which you see on the left-hand side. So, the dark green color would be countries that have a current national cycling strategies. There are 10 such countries: Austria, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Malta, Norway, Portugal, Sweden, and UK. UK actually you could split up into 4 different countries because every nation, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, has its own cycling strategy. Second category are the color normal green. National cycling strategy exists, but it needs some updating because it has been expired, I think most cases by the end of 2020. These would be concerning 5 countries: Czechia, Hungary, Ireland, Latvia, and Slovakia. Then a third category would be light green. It's a country that not really has a cycling strategy, but a similar document. That would be the Netherlands. Fourth category in yellow are the countries that are currently developing their first national cycling strategy. These are 7 countries: Bulgaria, Cyprus, Croatia, Greece, Romania, Slovenia, and Spain. So a lot of things are actually happening right now. Fifth country in orange, huge spot on that graph. It's a country that's used to have a national cycling strategy, but it's not applicable anymore. That would be Luxembourg. And then the sixth category in red, countries without a national cycling strategy. That would be Belgium, Estonia, Iceland, Italy, Lithuania, Poland, Switzerland. For the other countries that are in red, we have not really any information yet. I assume they will be also in red, but that would need to be verified, of course. As with so many things, when it comes to cycling, the Netherlands was ahead of everyone else when it published the first national cycling strategy in 1990. This is actually the cover of the analyst report that was published in January 1998. So after the 7-year master plan from 1990 to 1997. So it's the only strategy was launched in the second millennium. And visually, it also looks like from a different age. Runner-ups to the Netherlands are Germany and the Czech Republic, that had their first national strategy in 2002 and 2004, respectively. Then a lot of country ever since. And the latest plans origin from Malta, Latvia, and Portugal, published in 2018 and 2019, respectively. In 5 instances, we had also national strategies that not just included cycling, but also walking. So this concerns England, Finland, France, Luxembourg, and Wales. And Germany, England, and Scotland are the countries that had the highest numbers of strategies, 3. So they were into their 3rd national cycling strategy. Germany is also the country that has had a strategy for the longest period of time, 19 years. So it started in 2002, now we're in 2021. So the Netherlands had a first strategy, but did not have really a national strategy for the longest period of time, because they decided in the late 90s, job is done. It's now up to the local and regional level. And they only in 2017 again developed some sort of a national strategy. But I think Mirjam will later on talk more about this in the panel discussion. The legal basis for national cycling strategy, obviously there needs to be a provision somewhere in the constitution so that the national level has the competence to act on cycling policies. This can be a direct link or indirect link to cycling, for example, on environmental and climate protection, on public health, on road safety. But in some instances, there's even a direct national competence on cycling infrastructure in the constitution. For example, in the Swiss constitution, here Article 88 and 88.1 directly refers to cycling trails. This was added through a referendum in 2018. And since then, basically, the national level has also competence to act on cycling. Level of adoption is usually by an executive act, so either by a ministry decision or better by a government decision. So government decision would ensure there is a cross-departmental coordination or cooperation across the different departments on cycling strategy. If you want to take it to the next level, a legal act, so adopted by Parliament. There's one example, for example, from Wales, 2013, the adoption of the Active Travel Act. So there the national authorities have the statutory duty to develop, improve, and promote routes for walking and cycling for everyday short journeys. Just a few words about the content and structure of a national strategy. It surely should describe the societal challenges it wants to address, so challenges regarding mobility, environmental degradation, climate emergency, public health, and then basically discuss what can cycling contribute to solve these, to address these challenges. So this would be the perfect place also to discuss the socioeconomic benefits of cycling. Next one should be to describe the state of play with regards to cycle use in your country for daily cycling, recreational, touristic cycling, but also road safety issues, and how your national government currently supports cycling. And then also setting a vision, aspiration for cycling. So some targets, smart targets, so which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And this should be followed by the action plan. So basically your path to attain the targets. So you would describe the areas of intervention and your instruments, how you want to achieve your targets. So you could work on different chapters: urban, rural, tourism, road safety, infrastructure, intermodality, the legal framework, highway codes, fiscal instruments, education, training, data collection. So it's a whole shopping list basically. And then describe the implementation step, ideally. So stipulate who is doing what, by when, so have a timeline, how much would it cost, and who is actually footing the bill, so who is paying for it. And ideally, there would also be a kind of an investment need analysis, something that Austria, for example, has done. What's the duration of a national cycling strategy? I would say it's typically either 4, 7, or 10 years. 4 years, we found, for example, in England, Scotland, and Netherlands. So this would be the term of a government. 7 years we found for France, Czechia, Hungary, and Slovakia. Sorry. So these are certainly countries that are located in the Central and Eastern European region to align the cycling strategy with the EU financial period and to maximize investments from EU structural funds. And then the third category is something more or less than 10 years. Several countries have been doing that. My assumption would be that the rationale behind that longer period of time is that it really takes time to change mobility behavior. It's a long-term undertaking, and therefore it also needs long-term government support. Yeah, with that, I come over to my last slide. So have national cycling strategies delivered? Have they made a difference? It's very difficult to say. I would need probably a very detailed analysis. What we've done is to put them against the cycle use as it was identified in the Eurobarometer 495 from 2019. It's the most recent Eurobarometer we have on that topic. And there one question was asked to 1,000 participants in each country. On a typical day, what is your main mode of transport? By main mode, they meant the one that takes the longest time. And one of the possible answers was privately owned bike or scooters. And here 8% on the European average answered privately owned bike or scooters. So in these 3 columns, you see how your country answered respectively. These answers have to be taken with a pinch of salt. It's just really an attitudinal survey. If you have national travel surveys, these data will be much more correct than these findings, but still it gives an indication. And in green, I've basically highlighted the countries that have or used to have a cycling strategy. And I've separated them in 3 different columns. So in the left column, let's say the leading cycling countries, Netherlands, Sweden, Germany, Hungary, Finland, Belgium, and Denmark. So here, 7 out of 8 countries have, or at least used to have, a national cycling strategy. Belgium is the only one that does not have one. They were almost having one in 2004, but then the government fell and then it was not adopted. In the second tier, let's say the middle countries that hover around the European average of 8% cycle use: Austria, Latvia, Poland, Croatia, Czechia, Slovakia, and Lithuania. Therefore, 4 out of 7 countries have a national cycling strategy. And then the third tier, all the countries between 4 and 0% cycle use, there 6 out of 14 countries have a strategy. As I said in the beginning, Malta, Portugal are just 2 countries that adopted their strategy in 2018 to 2019. So this question came way too soon to make any difference. Yeah, and then you can ask, Ireland, Luxembourg had a long-term cycling strategies, were they really also implemented? I think that's a question then also for the panel. That was it from my side. If you have any questions, happy to take them later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fabian, for giving us this picture of mostly European Union, I would say. There are other developments going on outside European Union. We know that Russia is working on the national cycling strategy. Serbia is going this path too. And it's good that these countries are working on these issues, because one of the objectives of the Pan-European Masterplan cycling promotion that should be adopted next week is to develop and implement national cycling policies supported by this kind of national cycling strategies in all the countries of the Pan-European region by 2030. So actually a very interesting and ambitious goal that needs a lot of support, but your maps showed that we are in a good way of fulfilling this objective by the end of 2030. So thank you very much for giving us this bigger picture. What I would like to know is now, what about our audience? You know, I've asked you to fill in a short poll. What's your professional background? And now I wanted to show the results, but it doesn't work. Maybe Billy, can you help me with that?
I'll try. I only can hide it, which does not really help. Or delete, which helps even less.
So maybe we find out how this works and come back to that a bit later.
Just the second poll works. So just a little free.
Okay, until then, I would like to say thank you very much to Robert Thaler and Fabian Küster for their inputs. Looking forward to all the other things that come up now. And these things that are coming up now are presentations of countries that already have a national cycling strategy, national cycling plan in place. We would like to discuss what we can learn from those countries.
Let's try it again with the poll.
Okay.
So I can see it at least.
Okay. So, Billy, maybe you can share the results with us.
Right. Hope so. Nevertheless, the question was, what is your professional background and which institution are you representing? And it's 7 votes for national authority responsible for cycling. There is 2 votes for other national authorities, 2 votes for regional or local authorities, so that makes 12 authorities as such, 1 vote for a cycling advocacy group, 3 votes for other NGOs, 3 votes also for consultants, and there's 2 votes other, which is not really defined. So that's for the first poll.
Maybe we'll still keep the poll open, because when I asked everybody to fill in the poll, we were just 25 to 30 people. Now we are double the number, We are about 60
Wow.
participants. So maybe we'll get some additional information from you. In the meantime, I would like to invite Thierry du Crest and Klučka to join me here on the moderation panel. So Thierry is the French National Cycling Officer working for the Ministry for an Ecological Transition in France, and Klučka, whom we just see the chair, I hope he will be there in a minute, is the National Cycling Coordinator of Slovak Republic. Both of you have a national cycling plan in place, and you will share your experience with this great strategic document with us and the participants in a minute, starting with Peter. So Peter, if you are ready, if you are there, please share your screen with us and introduce us to your national cycling strategy. I think it's really only the chair. This means we are again changing schedule a bit. Thierry, you are there, definitely. I see you laughing. So please, we start with France and the French example of a national cycling plan.
Okay.
Hi,
hello, Andreas. Hello, Willie. Hello, Peter. Hello, everyone. You hear me okay?
Excellent.
Okay, so I'll try now to share my screen. Hopefully it will work. Is it okay? You see it properly?
Yes, excellent.
Okay, so hello, everyone. I'm Thierry du Crest from the French Ministry of Transport in charge of development of cycling. So I'll do my best to present briefly the French National Cycle and Active Mobility Plan. Maybe first of all, I give a few words on. I can't change my. Okay, okay, my slide. So maybe I will start with a few words on the French situation regarding cycling. As Fabian said, we have about 3% modal share for cycling, which is rather low, obviously comparing to other European countries. This is a 2019 figures, and the positive aspect of it is that it is for the first time stable. That means the last survey in 2008, cycling was also 3% of modal share, but it was a continuous decrease for decades. For the first time, it is now stabilized, so it's partly a good news. For the last decade, the biking has been increasing mainly in urban cities, main cities, and in France, only one conurbation is over 10% modal share, which is Strasbourg in the eastern France. As mentioned also by Robert and Fabian, most of bike-friendly measures are implemented at a local level by local authorities. Nevertheless, the National Cycling Plan, as I will show after, gives an overall incentives and gives incentives and an overall culture on biking at a national level. And for the first time in 2018, which is the actual the beginning of the actual National Cycling Plan, there was one National Cycle Plan before, as mentioned, Fabian, but mainly it was cycle-friendly regulations in traffic laws that were promoted. And as you can see in the figure on the right side, a lot has to be done regarding cycling infrastructures in France comparing to neighboring countries. So 2018 National Cycling Plan and Active Mobility Plan, sorry, was has a main objective, which is to increase and to triple the model share from 3% to 9% by 2024. 2024 is the date of the future Olympic Games in Paris. So that was a kind of a way of presenting the ambitions of France at this occasion. The plan gathers 30 measures promoting cycling and walking, and there are 4 topics. All of the topics are aimed to reduce, to alleviate the difficulties that can encounter a person who wants to ride a bike. So the first topic is concerning safety, and it aims at developing cycling infrastructures and improving road safety, which is the main barrier to cycling. The second topic is referring to security and aims at combating theft more effectively. The third topic is about incentives, creating incentives that will help people change their behaviors. And the fourth topic is about developing a cycling culture. And this National Cycle Plan has been, we are very proud to say that it has been ranked #1 by ECF. Thank you, Fabian, with a quotation of 9.5 out of 10. So in the very short time I have, I will just focus on 5 key measures in this National Cycling Plan that illustrates the 4 topics I just mentioned. So the first one regarding infrastructure has been, in 2018, has been created a budget for cycling infrastructure at the national level, which is of 350 million euros over 7 years. That means 50 million euros per year during 7 years. And this budget is gives subsidies to local authorities for cycling infrastructure, and we make every year a call for projects for local authorities, and just so that we subsidize their projects, and every call for project was a tremendous success, and we have more and more projects every year. So this is very important for us, this budget. Regarding theft, we also implemented a major measure, which I think is rather original at the European level, is that since the 1st of January of this year, every bike sold is now tagged with a 10-digit ID, and with this ID comes a database that has the telephone number and the mail address of the owner of the bike, and so that there's now a national database that gives the possibility to the police to call the owner if they found the bike after theft. And I think Denmark, yes, has a similar system, and now France, and hopefully it could be extended to other countries. But now it is so generalizing to all bikes in France. Regarding incentives, was voted in a law 2 years ago. The possibility for employers to give an allowance for their employees for bike to work, and this allowance can be up to 50 euros per year. And what was decided that it is tax-free for employer and tax-free for employee. And so it has started last year, and it is now increasing. By the employers are using it more and more, and the French national state has decided to apply to its employees, to its own employees, and so now every civil servant in France can have an allowance of 200 euros per year for bike to work. Regarding culture, I would like to give a short presentation on the program Savoir rouler à vélo in France. That means learning how to bike. And this program, which started in 2019, is organized by the Ministry of Sport, and it aims at train 800,000 pupils in the coming 3 years. Train them to learn how to ride bike on a road, and this is the first step before training all the pupils in France, which means 1,800,000 pupils per year in the years after, in the year after this first step of the program. So this is very important in France, because bike usage by young people is still decreasing in France. So it starts to invert the trend. And last, I would mention Mai à vélo, which means Biking May, the month Biking May, which is now going on for the first time in France. There's a national event called Biking May, which aims at at gathering several events in France that aims at from people to discover a bike and to enjoy it. And now there's more than 1,100 events all over France in this Biking May national event. I would like also to stress on what was 220 after the first lockdown in France. 220 has been a historical year for bike. First of all, more than 600 kilometers of pop-up pipelines were installed in France in May and June of last year, and it gives a lot of media insights on bike in 220. And the increase in bike usage in 220, as you can see in the figures shown in the slide, has been really important. The figures are made by comes from different countries all over France, put on cycle infrastructures, and compared to 2019, not including the lockdown periods, there has been something like 30% of bike increase, which is really enormous. And also there was a very popular system that has been a program that has been installed in 220 in May, is a 50 euros voucher for repairing a bike, and it is the system is now finished over, and more than 2 million bikes were repaired in 10 months, which is 6 times what we had initially expected. So it was a really great success. Now, my last slide to say a few words how was the NCP prepared in France. Actually, it was prepared in 2017, and it benefited from a national consultation aimed at prepare a mobility law, meaning that it was not only on walking and cycling, but on all modes of transport. And this was a 3-month debate with more than 3,000 participants, lots of contributions, working groups, and so on. And during this national consultation, there was a very important contribution of the French Cyclist Federation, and which during this consultation made a barometer of cycling cities on internet, and they had more than 100,000 answers within 2 months, with lots of people asking for more dedicated bike lanes and so on. So there was the biking associations were very present in this national consultation, and it really gave strength for the French government to propose this national cycling plan in 2018. And this plan was written after this consultation and was presented by the Prime Minister, and was the first time that a Prime Minister would present a national cycle plan. And my last point will be on the key points that contributed to the success of the national cycle plan. According to me, the first thing is that the budget of 250 million euros, the subsidies, is not only an important amount of money. It also gave a lot of credibility to the whole plan. For the first time, there was a budget for cycling in France, and that was very important, and it gives really a credibility to the plan. And the second point I would mention is the importance and the constructive approach of the French Cyclist Federation, and coming also with other NGOs representing local authorities or representing industrial sellers, but they are very present, and they make a lot of efforts to be in the media, to interact with the politicians, and that gives also a lot of momentum to the willingness of developing bike in France. Here it is. I finished with my presentation. I hope my approximate English was good enough for you, and I'd be glad to answer a question if there are.
Thank you very much, Thierry, for these insights. So we do have 2 success factors, in your opinion. It's the budget, obviously. But what I very much liked also about this active and constructive role of NGOs they can play in promoting cycling and coming up with a national cycling strategy. Thank you for sharing this with us. In the meantime, we've been asking questions in the chat, which countries are represented here in the webinar. So please answer to our question in the chat, which country you are coming from. And I now hand over to Peter Klučka, whom I finally see right in front of me, to share his presentation with us on the Slovak National Cycling Plan. Peter is the National Cycling Officer of Slovak Republic. He's working for the Ministry of Transport, Construction and Regional Development.
Hello everybody from Slovakia, from Bratislava. Andreas, can you help me please, because I don't have the presentation in the...
Okay, then I will try to share the presentation for you.
And I'm using time. Fabian, thank you for correct this mistake, this flag. Slovakia is not Slovenia, but we love very Slovenia, is food, wine, and the sea. But Slovakia is not Slovenia. Thank you. I wait the presentation. And excuse me, my English is not so perfect, but with little help, my colleague Michal Hladký, I tried the presentation. Okay, thank you. I see in my presentation.
We are still in presentation mode. Sorry for that. I'm trying to change that. think we have to stick to the presentation as we had it before. Just a second.
I would like freely speak about Slovak national strategy. Today we have 1 year and 4 days after the approved Slovak national strategy in the Slovak government. So this is the time for update Slovak national strategy.
This is what I can do. Sorry, Peter, but
because after the 7 years, this national Slovak strategy, we see the possibility understand cycling in the public space. This is the very important for update Slovak national strategy. Whoa.
Peter, you see the slides, right?
Yes, now I see. So, very shortly, I would like speak. I would like free speak this presentation. You see all the necessary in the slide. So, Slovak national strategy coming with cooperation with government, with local government, with municipal government, and also with NGO and university authority. This is very important, this cooperation with all the participants. So now we have in group between all the participants, national coordinator, 8 regional coordinator, and 5 cities coordinator. Next slide, please. Very important is after the 7 years, we have 3 pillars of cycling: transport, recreation cycling, and cyclotourism. Because many people, also in the ministry and regional and cities, don't understand there is a difference between the cycling, transport, recreation cycling and cyclotourism. This was the problem with using the money, European money, in the National Recovery and Fund, and also. So you have number of when we invested in building safe cyclist paths during 2007 and 2008. Very important is we have new law 151. This is the provision of subsidy to support development of cycling transport and cycle touring. This is great victory. Thanks this law, we have the 1009-61 project. You see the possibility and co-financing, and we prepare now new call after the with the law in the 2021. Next slide, please. But this is not only in budget, in law of the money, but this is very soft measures, you see in the left and the right soft measure is in the Bratislava. Speed reduction, retarders, reducing space in city centers from dynamic and static motor transport. This is very important bridge between the Slovakia and Austria, Cyclomost Slobody, and bridge of Chuck Norris. Now in process in second bridge between the Morava, and we continue with 3 bridge. Very important, the interministerial working group on support of cyclists, because this is very important for cooperation and communication. Current activity is very important, 1.5 meter distance when overtaking cyclists by drivers. We are following my colleague in Czech Republic. I hope this success with this support. Now we prepared 8-year bike to work on 7 years bike to school. This is very important for this vision here. Rise of cycling and population Slovakia. Next slide, please. And we have also the cyclo website after the podobzoru. Obzorec České republiky. Also as our partners in Czech Republic. Excuse me. Very important is support of Minister of Transport, Mr. Andrej Doležal, because he is naturally cyclist, and this is very important for support your efforts. Next slide, please. Thank you for attention with my horrible English. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter, giving us an insight on cycling policies in Slovak Republic. I hope you will succeed in also implementing the law for overtaking, minimum distance for overtaking 1.5 meters. I think this was a milestone in Czech Republic. We're still working on that in Austria. Didn't manage to include that in the law. And I think also you mentioned a very important thing. This is a political support. This is something that is very, very necessary besides budgets and the involvement of all relevant stakeholders. Okay, Billy, maybe we have another quick look at the poll.
Yeah, before
just
that,
short, maybe the top 3.
Yeah. Just before that, there was one question to Thierry, if you have any problems with the general data regulation protection with the 10-digit bike safety system. And this question came from Mr. O'Neill.
Yes, I answered in the chat, but no.
Okay.
Well, we have a national authority that approved the system regarding the GDPR obligation, and basically the owner can modify its own information freely. So it is aimed to be a service offered to the people, to the owner of a bike, not a constraint. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I think there's a lot of discussion ongoing in the chat regarding this topic. For the poll, is there anything really, any change in the...
Yeah, there's now 12 votes regarding the question which background we represent, where we come from. 12 votes for national authority responsible for cycling. So that's the majority, I would say, of participants who took part in the poll. And there's also a few more on NGOs. All the rest stayed more or less the same. So one more NGO, one more consultant. And I also admitted myself to unhide the next poll, which is, does your country already have a national cycling plan or strategy? And it's going up with a big yes and a little no in the moment. So most of the countries from our participants do have a national cycling strategy already.
Great. This is also reflected by the allocation of participants to countries. In the chat, we have 7 different countries with our panelists here. It would be 9. And adding our 2 next panelists from Luxembourg and from the Netherlands, it would be 11 countries so far. So please don't stop sharing your home country with us. It would be an interesting thing for us at the very end. Okay, so again, thank you very much, Thierry. Thank you very much, Peter. It was a pleasure having you here. And we are now inviting Mirjam Borsboom from the Netherlands, and Christophe Reuter and Martin Eder. So please, everybody on the panel really is removing and I'm adding. Okay. Excellent. So here we go. We are going to have a bit of a discussion on why having a national cycling plan makes sense and until when, and maybe how could a national cycling plan be proceeded with other policy instruments or even processes. We're going to discuss that with Mirjam Borsboom. So she's responsible for international cycling policies and strategies at the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. Mirjam, great to have you here. With Christophe Reuter, he's the head of the mobility department at the Ministry of Mobility and Public Works of Luxembourg. Great to have you here, Christophe. And from the host country, Martin Eder, the National Cycling Officer, who's working at the Austrian Federal Ministry of Climate Action, Environment, Energy, Mobility, Innovation, and Technology. So great to have everybody here. I would like to start with a general question. So from your perspective as a national cycling officer, so what is the difference between having a national cycling plan and not having one? And how did the national cycling plan make your life easier? Maybe start with Mirjam and with this actually quite interesting situation that is there in the Netherlands. Fabian already announced a bit of it, so maybe you could go into some details.
Yes, Andreas, of course. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Loud and clearly.
Perfect. Just to double check. Thank you for having me, and thank you for organizing this session. I think it's a very, very interesting topic to discuss with the different countries and from different perspectives. Indeed, a very interesting overview from Fabian from the ACF. I think it's really, there's a lot of developments also recent years. So I also learned a lot this morning already, which is great. Indeed, the Netherlands is a bit of a special case, maybe, I'm not sure. We indeed have started with a master plan fiets, as it was mentioned, in 1990 until 1997. So it was a 7-year plan. I looked up on the evaluation, quite interesting to look at that. But indeed, after that, there was a sort of a gap, I think, regarding the national strategy, and it was more decentralized indeed to the provinces and the municipalities, as people, I think, were thinking that it's more a decentralized approach would be a better approach regarding cycling. I'm not so sure. Regarding the 2017, we started again officially with the Tour de Force, which we can now, as we see, as our national cycling strategy. So there's a gap of 20 years in between, which is quite a lot. I did some research before this session, and it's not really the case that in 20 years nothing has happened. It just happened on very different fields, different approaches by different organizations. So it's quite a list what happened, but there's not really a top-down national approach. So indeed, regarding national perspective, there is a gap. And now regarding the Tour de Force, which is really a co-creation approach, as we say it. And I think for the Netherlands, that really works. As we have quite some infrastructure, as people maybe know, the cycling culture, I think, is also already present. Of course, we can create more, and we can make even broader infrastructure and more safe, because we do have quite some accidents regarding cycling. So there's improvements, of course, to make, but I'm not sure if like a top-down national strategy for the Netherlands will help like a lot, because sometimes it's really like one junction or a roundabout, or it could be very local, especially the accident approach. So I think personally it would be very useful to look at the cultural status of the country, and it's very cultural dependent. We are very corporation talking co-creation country. So for us, this national, for now, Tour de Force project works really well. But of course, every country is different, and maybe in another stage, you really need a top-down approach. And I'm completely agreeing with the budget aspect. You really need a budget with some serious numbers to be actually able to achieve something. Sorry, quite a long introduction, but maybe
it's great that you're sharing your thoughts with us. Martin, we in Austria, we are still having national Masterplan cycling. And it's actually, we are about to come up with the third version. So why do we still need a national cycling strategy? You're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, excellent.
Okay, thanks. Yes. Well, the Austrian situation is maybe, of course, it's different to the Netherlands. We are a federal republic, so the main issues for cycling promotion is on the local and the federal state level. For me, national cycling strategy was always very important as a guidance for my all-day work. Of course, the field of cycling promotion is quite wide, has a wide range. You can see it from the view of public health. You can see it from the infrastructure development. You can see it from climate action. You can discuss with pupils cycling to school, cycling to work. There are so many topics you can cover with cycling promotion. And if you have a national cycling strategy, then you're not lost on this wide range of cycling promotion. It's for me, it's always a good guidance, honestly. And the second thing is also in justification. We are working in administrations, and if you're dealing with new topics like promotion, then you need a justification why, as national administration, you are talking and discussing cycling promotion. That was the main two reasons for me, and that's also the reason why we still need a national cycling plan for the next period, to have the guidance and to have the justification.
Okay, now we're jumping to a very interesting country, Luxembourg. Christophe, your country has been mentioned by Fabian as not having a valid cycling strategy anymore.
That's correct.
So what is your approach? So why did that happen?
One thing that is specific about Luxembourg, and everyone knows how tiny this country is that we're too small to have a regional level. So there's only municipal level and so basically the national level, which I work for, in other countries, the region would do. So the national level doesn't need to tell the region what it should be doing. The national level is the regional level, and just whatever the politician, the minister wants to do. Now, I agree with Martin, though, that it's very good to have a national strategy. what we do, we simply look at the Austrian one or the Dutch one, and then that gives us guidance. We don't spend so much time writing our own because we the best. And now what we do have is a very good minister when it comes to cycling, and we've had him for 7 years now, and that truly has made the difference.
Okay, great. So learning from the best is really a good thing to do. We've experienced that also within the partnership on cycling, where at the moment 28 countries are cooperating, are exchanging positions, challenges, possible solutions that need to be anyway adapted to the country's circumstances. But I think this is a very good also format to exchange and to learn from each other. I think we also have countries in place which do not have a national cycling strategy yet. Never had one. I have to add this because we already had this discussion before. So what would be your advice for a representative of a country who doesn't have a national cycling plan yet, but is motivating to get one? So what are the first steps? What are these kind of key success factors that already has been sometimes mentioned in the presentations before, like budget and these things? Maybe starting with Mirjam again.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think to be honest, I learned quite a lot from our master plan Fiets, which is from 1990. I'm not even sure if it's in English, but I can double check, because I think it was an interesting fact that especially it was mentioned that as they say, cycling has been adopted since then as a serious transportation mode. And for us, that's a really like a normal thing. Of course, cycling is a regular transportation mode, but it wasn't in the law, and it wasn't seen nationally. So in this 1990 document, this master plan, it changed that, so that it's been nationally adopted as an officially transportation mode. And I think even it was mentioned back then, cycling up to 5/10 kilometers should be cycling the mode to be used. At the moment, actually, that's 15, so that's also an interesting change in time. We now encourage people to have a trip under 15 kilometers to take the bike, but back then apparently it was 5/10 kilometers. But that's, I think, a very important one. And together with, I'm not sure when it was, maybe it's also in this document, but at some point it changed in the Netherlands about the regulation who's responsible for an accident. So that changed in the Netherlands, and I think that made a huge difference here in the Netherlands, as even if you are a car driver going through a green light and a cyclist going through a red light, as a car driver you're still responsible because the cyclist or a pedestrian is a vulnerable road user and the car is not. So I think that also as a second phase, the regulation changed, the responsibility changed the other way around, so the car driver is responsible. It really changed the behavior of the car drivers. And I think also around the 1990s that changed, but those two factors I think were in Netherlands especially very important.
It's very important for starting and giving actually cycling same position compared to other modes of transport. This is one of the issues national cycling strategy could be helpful for. Christophe, what would be your advice?
My advice would be the PEP strategy, because after all, that's what I've done for the past few years, and it saves you from reinventing the wheel. Start from there and then present that to a broad range of stakeholders in your country, the cyclist lobby, but also the people building roads, the people building public buildings, the environmental causes, the people interested in health causes, the people interested in road safety, the police. Where if you get that kind of broad group together, and if you get them behind basic strategy, which you can then elaborate on and adapt to your context, then not only do you have a strategy, but you have a lot of ambassadors for your strategy. And if you bring them together, that could help raise the awareness more generally in countries like that may not yet have such a broad basis for cycling. One thing that we noticed here a few years ago, actually when I started also, there was no survey on cycling at all. There was no data. And so what you ended up noticing there was a whole bunch of cycling minorities. There was the guys my age that cycled, that did some mountain biking together. And there was other people doing race bikes. There was, of course, the children, people doing some urban cycling. There were people doing cycling only on vacation and so forth. But if you added, and everyone thought, well, I'm bizarre because I'm kind of cycling, no one else does. But if we made a national survey, and then what you find is that if you add up all these minorities, you end up with a majority of people actually cycling. And that completely changes your narrative politically. If you tell a politician, obviously, that he's now doing things for a majority of voters, then obviously his motivation changes. And I think that was one of the elements that that helped us develop cycling a bit over the past few years. But I always come back to a deep political will at the top, then that makes all the difference. If you simply have a person there that thinks it's absurd to do it, that doesn't have cycling in it, then obviously everything follows from there.
Maybe this brings us also a bit to the Austrian showcase. Martin, National Cycling Officer, when you started your work, you've been working for the Ministry of Environment. How did that happen? Normally, when we see it among the stakeholders that we have here on the panel, it's the ministries of transport, the ministries of infrastructure dealing with cycling. It worked. In between now, you're again muted. Excellent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry for that. Yes, I agree with Christophe. It's about the people, and you have to find allies to get together for cycling promotion. The Austrian case is maybe some special case. I already mentioned we are a federal state, and at this time, as the first national cycling strategy was developed, it was more focused on the climate action within the transport system. And it was also a competition between two different coalition parties. Government at this time between the Conservative and the Socialist Party. So the Minister of Environment was from another party and took this topic for him to promote cycling. It was the main reason for the first national cycling plan. But nevertheless, I think it's there. Christophe already mentioned it. There are so many topics and issues who can deal with cycling promotion. So it's important to find allies in the health sector, to find allies in the environment sector, in the transport sector, and build a group of people who is willing to promote cycling in your country. Then it will work.
Thank you very much, Martin. This is more or less actually already the conclusion. We've got a lot of inputs from you. Thank you very much for engaging, for actually letting us experience how you see the benefit of a national cycling plan. And I also think this was a very critical analysis of having one or not having one and how it could support a country. And I think this analysis could be very helpful for countries that start thinking about having this kind of national cycling strategy, this strategic document supporting cycling and bringing it to another level. I would also like to thank Christophe for mentioning the Pan-European Masterplan, because I think the 28 countries did a really good job in coming up with 11 topics and 33 recommendations that could support any institution that is thinking of elaborating a national cycling plan. It's a good collection of ideas, of recommendations that you could take over if it really fits to your framework conditions in your country. And it also includes objectives that you could use as a starting point when discussing this issue. And data, Christophe mentioned it, data is very important. One single topic is dedicated to data, and it's, I think, very important to know whom we are talking about. So how many people are doing that, and what's the benefits also of cycling. That's a good argument for political discussions. So thank you very much for this great discussion. Thank you very much also for the people giving a presentation. There is actually ongoing a great discussion in the panel. We are documenting the panel, the chat, and we will come back to the people who have been raising questions, and we can also share these things with the participants. The last poll, really, maybe the final word. So which countries have and do not have, although it's not really representative, we've got that also in the chat, but just to give us a picture.
Yeah, so we were proven wrong, as you mentioned in the chat, because of course, if there are more people from one country, there's more votes for one country, and be the country having a national cycling plan, then it's more than one, and it's not right in the sense of mathematics. That's true. Anyway, it's now 12 votes for countries having a national cycling plan already, and 10 votes for not. And there is also 2 votes that might be Slovenia, for example, or Romania, maybe, where a national cycling plan is under elaboration. So that's in the moment standings for our question regarding national cycling plans in place or not.
Great, thank you very much, Willy. So a lot of people are starting thinking about this issue. That's great, actually. And you learned that there are a lot of good practice examples that you can have a look at. So please engage. Feel free to join also the partnership on cycling if you are interested. Get in touch with me. I'm coordinating the partnership. I'm happy to share information with you. We're also collecting all the national cycling plans that are available in English version. So also for everybody having a new one, please send it to me. Then everybody could have access to this kind of database. Thank you very much for joining in. Thanks for the hosts, Austrian Ministry of Climate Action, the French Ministry of Ecological Transition, and the European Cyclist Federation. Thanks for your support, and hope to see a lot of new national cycling strategies coming up in the near future. Thanks, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andreas. Well done.